Hey, yo, what's up? What's up? Thank you for tuning in. You are now tuned in to the Ayo Media Podcast with your main man, DJ Reggie Fields. I am Leon Hope the Great. I'd like to welcome you. It is February 26, 2021. And today we're going to go over how to EQ your vocals if you're working with OBS or Zone, any type of DAW. We're going to give you a helping hand, and if you listen close, I'm pretty sure we can walk you through any problem or situation without you faltering.
Yes. So let's see. So if you were doing vocals for a podcast, what would be the first chain of command? Let's see here.
The first thing that we would have to do is realize we are doing vocals for a podcast.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you want to set it up kind of like your own personal channel strip, like you would on a mixer. And on a mixer, you would have your mic in or line in. You would have an insert, which brings that signal out the board, so you can go to like a reverb or a delay if you wanted to, or even a external compressor. Well, we doing everything in the box today, and then the box just means we don't have any external equipment. So you want to set up a EQ. The EQ is gonna have a gain on it. You want to pull up an EQ, Reg?
So let's see. So let us pull up a.
And what an EQ does is kind of like it cuts out all the bad frequencies that you don't want to hear in your vocal. And you recording this visually, right, Reg?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, what you guys are watching him do is set up and pick which plugin of the EQ he's going to use. Now, I'm not particularly familiar with OBS plugins, but it's all the same concept. That's why I told you guys you can just apply this to whatever digital audio workstation you have.
And the EQ we will use is Ozone 9 Elements. It's really a mastering software, but
Oh, sweet.
we're going to be using the equalizer on it.
Okay, so we're going to start with just the low end. Low end generally resonates between 60 hertz and 100 hertz on a vocal. So, Reg, let me see what you think would be a good EQ, and then we're going to adjust it because you might nail it. You know what I'm saying? You might nail it the very first time and give the people exactly what they would do. You know what I mean? So let me see what you would do as far as to EQ the low end out, Reg, and then I'll tell everyone what they actually should do.
Okay, I'm going to. One of the first things I understand is make a low shelf, and I am. This is kind of. It's not as.
Sharp. It's not as sharp as it probably should be.
Yeah, here we go. Great. So something
Boom.
like this.
That's perfect. Now vocals you might want to cut 100 hertz. A female vocal you definitely don't want to go past 110 hertz. That's frequency range. So take your low end shelf EQ and move that to about 80 hertz, Rich, and let's see how that looks.
So this right here, or the one.
Yeah, that's the yellow one. Yep.
Okay.
Move that to about 80 hertz. So that's good where you just had it because it's rolling off the back end of 100. You see how slow it's just barely grazing 100. Maybe move it back just a little, just so we don't cut off too much, and we always can move it up.
So when you say move it back.
Left, yeah, I'm sorry. So when back is always down the frequency range, up is on the right towards the frequency range, I mean going up the spectrum.
All right.
So you got your low EQ set. That's pretty much it, bro. And then what you want to create now is a dip, like where our vocals resonate. So a vocal resonates generally within humans, not dogs. or parrots, whatever you gonna record, but generally within humans, if you're looking at your EQ Reg, you see most of my voice is hitting about 300. Like the peak, the very, 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 very peak of my voice is hitting between 300 and that 600 range. But we want to treat that area that's between the 100 mark and the 300 range. So it amplifies the best part of it. The best part of my voice is from, or the meat of my voice is from 300 to 1,000 hertz. where as far as it's hitting, uh, tone wise, quality wise, property wise, whatever you want to call it. So we just need to pull down that space right in front of the best part of my voice. So maybe if the best part of my voice is it starts at 300, Reg, we might want to pull down between 240 and 200.
Okay, so let's go here. So, and so say, what is this? 177, 240, and 200?
Yeah, so let's go to 225. Pull 225 down.
225. Let's see. And then, well, to pull it down, like, do you want it
Yeah,
sharper or is that like
yeah.
too
I
sharp?
want it a little bit sharper.
Okay, let's see if we can.
If you can make it sharper. If you can't, that's fine. It'll just have to be what that is. Like you said, it's a mastering program. And when you're putting in these peaks, you don't want to change them drastically. You don't want to go down like 10 dB, right?
Yeah.
Unless you, and the best way to find that point, Reg, is to pull it all the way up. Take that, yep, take that one all the way up. Take it all the way up, right? So what you're now looking for is anywhere where it peaks. If your meters turn red, like sweep it around, Reg,
Okay.
between that 100 and 300 range, but you want it to be all the way up to the top. So
Okay.
this is right now he's take it all the way up, not down.
Okay.
Right. So that's where you're going to sweep it around at, right? So you're looking for the bad frequency between 100 or let's say 200 and 300, and that's where you would sweep it. And wherever that meter on the right side peaks, or you hear like this muffled sound of the room, any bad sound that you hear, you would pull that down. So you have effectively mastered that section between 100 hertz and 300 hertz once you do this. So let's just pull that down to about 225, like I said, just because I know that's a general good place to start.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's perfect right there.
Okay.
And pull it down maybe 3 dB.
You got 212. Okay, we got 3.8.
Right. So I want you guys to see the drasticness of it. Okay. So make your cue a little bit bigger. And then from there, we're gonna raise that dB up just a little bit because I know we went straight to 3 dB. That's even better what you're doing. So you see exactly where you need to pull it down at. Every right where it's peaking on my voice when I say down at. So maybe to the left a little bit, Rich, just a little. Check, 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 check. And that's perfect. You see how you're hitting like right in the middle where that point is?
Ah, I see
That's
exactly what you're
perfect.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so now you're effectively pulling that point down to where the rest of the points are. So when we turn this vocal up, it won't be louder than the rest of them. It'll create a streamlined frequency. It'll be a smooth frequency, volume wise and everything. So if you make that cue wide as those points, it'll make those points kind of flatten. So you now have a more flat EQ. The sound is easier to compress. Well, not more than that. That's cool. That's cool right there. If
12? Okay.
no, just make try 20 because I'll see where yeah, that's yeah.
Let's go in a little bit. I think 12 might be the most we can go.
Oh, so make it wider maybe. That's definitely too sharp. Okay. And then like I said, we're gonna bring it up just a little bit. So maybe it's only going over that line when I'm talking, maybe 2 dB, maybe. So you can bring it up to 2 dB. You get what I'm saying? You see how you got it soloed and how the points are going over the middle line?
Yeah.
That's how much you know to dB to pull it down. Yeah, so you basically trying to match those points that it's going over. You want it to be basically the opposite of that, close to it. Yeah. And basically, if you did that for every frequency range, that would be mastering, Rich,
Yeah.
as far as EQ wise. And then you have a way to compress it. There's 7 steps to mastering, but that is the first one. Well, the second one. The first one would be truncating the highs and the lows. So we're not doing that on this vocal. We could, but we're not doing that. So you did truncate the lows, you cut those off. So let's go to about the mid range. Now, the human voice sits at about 4,500 hertz. That's kind of the sweet spot for guys. And
Mm-hmm.
with girls, it's about 3,500 hertz.
Mm-hmm.
So we can set this point to maybe 4,000, 4,200, 4,500, anywhere in that range where we think it needs to raise. But we
Mm-hmm.
can look right at our graph down there at the bottom and tell where we need to pull it up, because we're looking for a good spot between 3,000 and 5,000.
Uh-huh. So
So
which say what you were saying?
the Q5 and 6, you can put 5 right on 3,000, and you can put 6 right on 5,000.
Let's see. 5, 4, 9.
Or what is that, 6,000, whatever that right,
Okay.
that line is. What is that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So now you're effectively set up to raise the highs of this vocal. Right now, we
Mm-hmm.
already cured the lows, we cured the low mids, we leave the mids kind of alone unless we need to touch them. And right now, 1,000 hertz is where we would need to focus on, but it doesn't look like we need to do anything to it. It's not raising too far above the line. But anytime you see that it does, we might have to go back to it. But so let's go to 4,500 hertz with that one with 5,
Okay. 45.
and just raise it up 1.5 dB. But you want to have a very small Q, a very, yeah, not a wide Q, a very
Okay.
small.
Okay. Let's get that tighter.
Yeah. I mean, as tight as you can get this one,
All right. Cool.
because you're just making a couple different points where you want the frequency to jump. The next one would be taking the 6Q and going to about 8,000 and raising that 1.5 dB.
All right. Yeah. 8. And raise that at 1.5.
And the same thing, make the Q close.
All right.
Now you're going to take the 7Q, take it to 16,000 dB and raise it up 1 dB with the tightest Q you got.
Okay. And then what was the dB that you wanted to raise to?
1 dB.
Okay. One. Then does this one even have a Q?
It's fine if it doesn't. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
That's what we call an ear ring shine. So it adds like this radio air to your vocal without you having to add a reverb.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 and the 6 are manipulatable because you can pull them down as needed. So if it was spiking right there above the line, we will pull it down. But because it's not, we need to actually pull it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I'm seeing, the 5 is just right. You see how where my voice is hitting, it's almost covering one particular point, one particular peak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's another spot about 1,000, 1,200 maybe. So yeah, it's yeah, like right there. I'm worried about that spot a little bit just because it's on the cusp of where it's coming down. So maybe if we move over to, what is that, 1,200? Let's go to 2,200 and pull down zero point 0.5 dB with a Y.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
200.5.
check. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
see what you're saying.
yeah. So now this is a little bit specific to this what we're doing, but this is a very general EQ you could use. So if you brought 5, not, don't do this, Reg. If I'm talking to the people, the viewers, if you were to bring 5 and 6 down, guys, and bring the one he just did back up, you would, that's your general EQ. So you would, what number is that we're on right now, Reg?
This is an 8.
Okay, so 8, I know it's out of order, guys, but 8, 5, and 6, if you were to just turn those off, bypass them, or even just bring them back to 0, that would be your very general EQ. You can move the 7 after you brought those back down to 0. You could move that 7 back to 8,000, and it will still brighten up. It will give you that radio air. It just wouldn't. We're making this very specific to this vocal because we can see it. But if it was their vocal, they would just adjust these as needed. And you see how the EQ kind of follows our vocal, but that's exactly what we needed. Can you create a preset with that, Rich?
Yeah, that's I can't wait to do that. Really. Let's
Yeah,
see.
I've built people's studios for them, bro. When I say built it, I mean went and put the padding on their walls, uh, started building their computer, put all the programs on it. I built their presets for them for their room. You know what I mean? And they didn't understand what I was doing until they tried it with other people vocals, and it was like, wait a minute, it don't sound right. I said, yeah, because I made that specific to you. They didn't understood how important this process is. Because before they thought I was just turning knobs, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, man, anybody could do that. Yeah, you could, but if you put that same EQ on anybody's vocal, it's not gonna sound the same. So you have to adjust these settings no matter what. You hear me, Reg? No matter
Yeah,
what, you're gonna have to adjust them. And
yeah.
nothing drastic. You never want to go over 3 dB. You rarely need 2 dB of any change except around that for the 4. So that range is 240. If it sounds muddy, it's normally 230. Between 200 and 250, you pull that down and it won't sound muddy. If it really sounds like you were in a room and you ain't put a reverb on it, pull down 130 and 140.
Mm,
So what we're doing is adjusting for instrumentation. It's just the compressor is going to make our voice sound full off of this. But if we were, like speaking over music, this is going to be perfect because certain points and frequencies are rose, and then certain ones are pulled down,
mm,
or I should say attenuated, increased, whatever word you want to use. They're raised, and then the ones that are pulled down are good for the instrumentation because where that 4 is, the kick sits at about 140 hertz, the very top of the kick. It starts at 90 to 140. So us pulling that frequency down allows the kick to punch through, but us raising those frequencies at the top allows our vocal to ride over the kick because the kick is supposed to be cut at about 800 hertz, where you don't even hear the kick. You just feel it. At 1,000, you definitely feel it. That's the punch of the kick. So that's why at 1,000, we could pull it down for our vocal and let the kick punch through. But we know on that kick, it's not going to have 3,000 hertz up. So we know we're going to be able to be heard on the high frequencies. It's just a matter of matching it. And that's more so what it's about, that kick. You know what I mean? Because every other instrument can be EQ'd around the vocal,
mm-hmm.
or should be EQ'd around the vocal because on the song, and the vocal is the highlight. But let's go to the next step, bro. That's the EQing portion of it. And if you saved it as a preset, we can roll on.
All right. So let's X out of that. So what would you say after EQing it? What would you say would be the next step?
We're not adding any delay or reverb or nothing like that. So I would say compression, because you have a gate? Do you have a noise gate or a de-esser?
I have a noise gate. I do not have a de-esser.
Okay. Let's try the noise gate. I'll show you what a noise gate does.
So do you want the compressor first, or do you want the noise gate next?
I would say the compressor first.
All right. So then we got compressor. All right. It is up.
Okay, so we're gonna first change the ratio. So now that we got the EQ out, we're gonna change the ratio. The ratio, we're gonna use 2 compressors. We're not gonna use just one. So the first one we want to set to about 3:1, a 3-to-1 ratio. And that's light compression. That's kind of like think of it as doubling your track 3 times. If you had one track, you just doubled it 3 times.
Hmm.
Just think of it like that. Now it might sound louder, but you haven't adjusted any of the other settings to make it sound right. It's definitely gonna sound louder, but it might sound muffled and it might sound distorted if you change that ratio higher than 3 point or higher than 8 point, whatever thing. You just have to adjust the other settings. So that next setting threshold is how high does your vocal have to be before it hits this compressor? So right now, Reg, you got it at -18, right? And we don't see a live feed of it coming in, of our vocal coming into it. So I'm going to give you a very general threshold of uh compression.
Well,
Let's
would you
go to
like to see a live?
yeah,
What's
if we could see this live, if we could see our vocal going into this filters audio compressor, that would be perfect.
all right? I'm gonna try to see if I can split this here. You see what I'm doing? So we can
Yeah,
like see it side by side.
yeah.
All right. So let's go.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I see what you're doing. That's perfect.
All right.
So with the threshold, let's put the threshold at about -10, just because I see where my vocals hitting. It looks like that might be actually right, -18 or so. Okay, so that was check, 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 check. That was actually pretty good, Reg. Take it back to -18.
Mm-hmm.
So my vocal is actually hitting at about -12. Taking it to -18, that gives us 4 dB of compression. So let's go -17 because we only want 3 dB of compression.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right. So wherever the top of your vocal is hitting, you want to set that threshold 3 dB under that. And now it looks like I'm clipping, Reg. It was right at -18. Let's go -19, just so I know we're not clipping. And if you're watching, you can watch the audio output capture. Yep, right there, Reg. That's where it was clipping. So with us going to -19, is it still clipping?
No.
Okay. They just haven't disappeared. Those red
Yeah.
okay. So I'm actually kind of hot coming in with the EQ and the so that EQ we just said is affecting my vocal, right? So that's why it's coming in that clear. I know my mic might be hot, but us EQing that vocal definitely had some effect on the volume or perceived volume of this program and everything. All right, so let's turn the threshold down to -21. Just check, 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 check. Okay, so I would say that's better. The attack is probably about 15, and that just so you get some natural sound or resonance of the vocal to come through.
I hear that. Yeah.
You get me? Because when it's on the attack, it's basically gonna be muffled, and you're gonna be stuck trying to put an EQ on after this compressor, trying to figure out why it sounds muffled, and you're gonna be trying to EQ a muffled sound out, and it's really just because your attack is all the way to 0.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to hear some natural. If you want some dynamics in your voice, you got to leave dynamics in the voice. The release now that definitely has to be fast on this first compressor, right? So 60, let's maybe take it to 80, just so we can say we changed something, but nothing's wrong with 60. The output gain on the compressor you want to turn down, like, yeah, like maybe -dB. And that's just to protect us from clipping. So effectively, we've just EQ'd and compressed our vocal. Um, I don't think we're gonna need a second compressor on this one. Then I could give us one, but we don't technically need it. It would be a little bit. We did two on yours, Reg.
Yeah, I might. Yeah.
Okay. So let's do another one.
Honestly, I think this is good. Like just hearing you, I think this is good. But let's let's put another one on
Just
and
so they
see.
can see the process of it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's see. So compressor two.
Did you save yours as a preset, your compressor too?
No, I guess it's because it's five. I figured I'd just like duplicate this.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So take your second compressor from yours and duplicate it to mine,
okay, so
and then
let's.
we'll start adjusting from there. That way, we at least have the same realm of compression, and that's part of it too. Because if we both were on the same song, I would have to send both our vocals to the similar compressors, if
Okay,
not the same compressor in
yeah,
the end. Like bus it down. Each track might have a compressor on it, but then that bus that I send both those tracks to, a bus being where you can send vocals and effects in, compress that signal, and then send it to the main out.
yeah. Let's see.
This is like engineering talk to
Yeah.
the top fullest, bro. I'm sorry, but
So let's see if we got compressor two. So it's 8 to 1. We got
yeah,
16 threshold, 1 second attack, 224 release, and
yeah.
so
Check. Now look how much room we got between
let's see.
the red and the yellow
Hold on, let me move it. Say that again.
on my track. You see
Yeah,
how my track is?
yeah.
Uh and so this is the captured three. Check. And you're gonna see it start to change, bro. You might even hear it on your end.
And the threshold was 16, something like that. Then the attack was. Do you remember the attack? I think it was like 20. It
On yeah. The release was a lot higher though.
was like
It was
200.
two, yeah.
And then the output gain was -1. All right, I'm just gonna go -1.
Yeah, that's probably better.
All right.
Check. So that just gave us some ceiling.
So would you use a limiter on the vocals? Because let's see.
You
Yeah.
don't
Would you?
want to use a limiter is setting the threshold and making everything that is low. So if you're talking kind of like this on one take, if you were talking like this and I was talking like this on the other side of it and it recorded, when it hits that limiter, you're going to be talking this same level. It's going to make, even if you're talking like this, it's going to make yours sound just like mine.
Yeah.
That's what a limiter does. It brings everything together, but you got to understand when it brings up your volume, it's also bringing up the floor volume of the room you recorded in.
Ah.
So it brings up the air in the room. So yeah, you can hear your voice clearer, but you're gonna hear everything behind you clearer too. That's what a limiter does. So that's the importance of a gate at that point. You want to have a gate on to cut the back air or back area out and the de-esser to help get rid of that, and then the limiter will do its job perfectly on a vocal. But I rarely use a limiter on a vocal unless it's like a stack, meaning like three or four takes of the same thing or the same word or an ad lib. I might put a limiter on it to make sure in the mix it doesn't go over a certain threshold at all. But for the most part, a limiter is for the whole entire song or the whole entire thing. Like once we finish recording this, you put a beat under it of us talking, and then you compress it all together and you EQ it so it sounds right. You put a little bit of reverb on it all together. You expand it with one of your expanders, and then you put the limiter on at the end to kind of mesh it all together.
Okay.
That was a very brief overview of mastering, but that's kind of the steps that you would do it. The limiter is like the last step of mastering.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're ready though, bro. Or did we just do exactly what we said we were doing? Like we just showed you guys exactly how to EQ and compress, and we discussed briefly on steps of mastering. Hey yo, I mean, I think we just doing what we said we was gonna do at the top of this, man.
Yeah.
And we've effectively been recording now for 30 minutes. Reg, thank you, bro. I gotta just say that. I gotta throw that in there.
No, thank you. I learned a lot from doing this.
Everybody, that is DJ Reggie Fields. I am Leon Hope the Great. This has been the AO Media Business Podcast. Reg, you want to tell the people or remind the people where they can find us before the last word?
Yeah. Find us at aotracks.com, aotracks on Instagram. Let's see, AO Media on Facebook, AO Media on YouTube. And what else?
The website?
Yep. Website aotracks.com.
Okay, what about the Patreon?
Oh yeah, patreon.com/AO Media.
There you go. There you go. That is the business. And I guess the last word today is going to be positive, and that's get out there and EQ and compress something. Don't hesitate. If you get a chance to work with somebody doing this, dive in. And till the next one, Reg, hey yo.
Hey yo.